Now at McDonald's, a sausage McMuffin is only $1.50. So stop dreaming about breakfast sausage and go get it. Get more value on the under $3 menu.
Limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher for delivery.
Howard, I'm so glad I saved your number. My husband fell at a construction site and is in critical condition. I knew it wasn't safe.
I'm very sorry to hear that. I just want to let you know I'm here to help. Yeah, tell me more about it. Work injuries not only affect the victim, but also everyone around them. Inc. Law is Chicago-based and here to advocate on your behalf. With over 100 attorneys and staff, if you or someone you know has questions about a work injury, call 312-6-MILLION. Injury law made personal. That's Inc. Law.
From your favorite source for Chicago White Sox talk, delivering news, interviews, analysis, and more. This is the Sox Machine Podcast with your hosts, Jim Margulis, James Fegan, and Josh Nelson.
Thanks, Rob, and welcome to a new episode of the Sox Machine Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Nelson, and it's Thursday, May 7th, 2026, as we record this episode, with the Chicago White Sox playing better than we expected to start this season, and the American League Central playing a bit worse than we expected. I figured it would be worthwhile to chat with our good friend Dan Szymborski of Fangraphs to see how ZiPS is projecting the remaining 2026 season. Have the White Sox played well enough to consider being more aggressive in acquiring players this season via trade to run a chance of winning the division? Before we chat with Dan, some White Sox news. To make room for veteran reliever Trevor Richards, the Chicago White Sox have optioned reliever Jordan Leasure to Charlotte. A bit of a surprising move, even though Leasure has been struggling. Beto is still part of the bullpen. I think we thought that was going to be the move. During spring training, Leasure was told that he was going to make the team sort of focus at the task on hand, but he struggled to start 2026 in little more than 16 innings pitched. Leasure has a ERA over 6, and the White Sox, they do need Leasure to get back on track. As he showed last year, he can be an effective reliever, but he's still struggling to find an answer against left-handed hitters. Now, left-handed hitters are only batting .231 against Leasure, but they are slugging .615. Figuring out a way to avoid the barrel against lefties will be Leasure's assignment in AAA to get back on track. With this move, Richards will be ready out of the White Sox bullpen for their upcoming series against Seattle. New mock drafts are being posted as Keith Law of The Athletic goes bold, as he has the Chicago White Sox taking Texas shortstop Grady Emerson number 1 overall. You could read about Emerson as I, back in March, visited Texas, got a chance to watch Grady Emerson, and interviewed his coach, former major leaguer Rusty Greer. I don't think it's all that outlandish of a possibility. For those that read the weekly MLB draft reports on SoxMachine.com, I've been pointing at Roch Cholowsky's, I don't know if struggles is the correct word, but there's a significant difference in success against conference opponents and non-conference games. Before this weekend series against 15th ranked Oregon, Cholowsky only has 3 home runs and 4 doubles in 24 games against Big Ten pitching this year. That's a concern. In his last 3 Friday night conference games, where Cholowsky is facing the opposing school's best pitcher, Cholowsky has been held hitless. He only has 1 extra base hit against a Big Ten Friday night starter, and that was against Ohio State back in early March. If you simply just look at Cholowsky's season numbers, they suggest that things are fine, and he's going to boast similar numbers as last year. But I do have to point out that Cholowsky, during UCLA's postseason run last year, he did not have a single extra base hit. No extra base hits in regionals, super regionals, or the College World Series. We have seen a similar decline around the same point of the season from Cholowsky. This lack of domination, I think, is what's keeping the door open for other options like Grady Emerson to the White Sox. My next mock won't come until after the conference tournaments in late May, but I still think the White Sox would take Cholowsky first overall if the draft were today. But the Emerson and Jacob Lombard ties to the White Sox are real. This is not as big of a slam dunk as I thought it was in early March when Cholowsky passed the big test against SEC schools. A quick Sox Machine public service announcement. On August 8th, the Chicago White Sox will be honoring Ozzie Guillen by retiring his jersey. But Sox Machine will also be celebrating our 20th anniversary. The White Sox will be hosting the Cleveland Guardians that night, which, boy, that game.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack, but people don't understand when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
We've all been there. You're away for the weekend, the big game is on, and you realize you're restricted from watching. Or maybe you're trying to check the latest lines on your betting app, but your local network is blocking the site. These are the ultimate unforced errors. You can prevent this from happening to you with IPVanish. IPVanish is the powerhouse VPN designed to keep you in the game no matter where you are. IPVanish helps you stay connected to your favorite team and streaming services while you travel. But it's not just about watching the game. For the bettors out there, IPVanish provides an extra layer of security and privacy that helps you access your account safely on public Wi-Fi. Plus, IPVanish is lightning fast, so you won't have to worry about lag during those crucial live betting moments. Right now, get a massive discount at IPVanish.com. That's IPVANISH.com to get started today. Secure your play and go to IPVanish.com.
Loom large, and Sox Machine will be hosting a pregame tailgate to serve as a meetup for the community. Jim Margulis will be there, and I'll work on having a cake to celebrate. But we have worked with the White Sox to get a group rate on tickets. So if you would like to join us on August 8th to celebrate Sox Machine and Ozzie Guillen, in the description of this podcast, you can visit that link to purchase tickets. We'll also have the link available within the podcast post on SoxMachine.com and on our social media feeds. To help us with the future projections in the middle of the 2026 season, and I guess to gauge our optimism, how hyped should we be about this White Sox team? Join us is one of our best friends of the show. From Fangraphs.com, it's Dan Szymborski. And hello, Dan. This is a happier conversation than we have usually had the last 3 or 4 seasons regarding the White Sox. As we record this, the White Sox are 17-20. They're just a game back in the American League Central. At a macro level, how are you feeling about the White Sox in early 2026, Dan?
I mean, most things have gone about as well as could be expected. And I think that, I mean, these are good signs. You look at the roster now, and you see players who could actually be part of a good White Sox team in the next few years. When we had these similar conversations in 2023, 2024, and even to an extent last year, that wasn't really a thing. But a lot, they've made some good acquisitions, and there are interesting things on the team now, interesting players. There are reasons to watch a White Sox game now if you're not necessarily a White Sox fan. You can see Murakami do his coin flip power, which is working very well for him. You can see they have a good middle infield. Miguel Vargas has kind of turned around. And he's kind of doing what was expected. Sam Antonacci has had a really solid, minimal debut. Davis Martin is striking out dudes and has an ERA under 2, and we're in May. So there are a lot of things to like. I don't know this is a good team yet. I don't think they are, but it's an interesting team, and not in a funny, dark way, which is what we mostly have.
That's very true. Fangraphs, if you go to Fangraphs.com, podcast listeners, Fangraphs is projecting the White Sox to now finish 72-90. That's progress. That's not 100 losses. So that number continues to tick up over on Fangraphs with how the White Sox have started. But Dan, I need to get your opinion about the American League Central, because I think and how this season has started within the division is the lighter fluid into the campfire for White Sox fans' interest into the season, because Cleveland, Detroit, and to a certain extent, Kansas City, they've all sputtered out of the gate. What are your thoughts about how the division is currently playing right now, with Cleveland and Detroit leading the division with an 18-19 record?
Well, I mean, obviously it's not good to lose a Scooble for the Tigers or for people who want the Tigers to win, but it kind of makes that division more wide open, because even though the Tigers do have some significant flaws, losing Scooble is a pretty big deal, and now they're even a more flawed team because they've lost basically their best part for a few months, which is significant. There's a realistic chance that any team wins the division, and I'm including the White Sox in that. The ZiPS projections for the White Sox are a little more generous because the White Sox do have upside when you look at some of their young players. I mean, this is a team now. All the most frequent starter at every position for the White Sox this year, 8 of the 9 positions is someone 26 and younger. The only exception is Andrew Benintendi, who must have, compromising photos of somebody at this point. But there's upside in the White Sox offense, and there's upside in the pitching staff. So the White Sox are literally a team. ZiPS gives them about a 6% chance, but 6% is not that crazy. It's, 1 out of 16-ish times. That's like a 35 home run hitter over the course of a season. And no one's shocked when a 35 home run hitter hits a home run in any given at bat. It's not the craziest thing you've ever seen. You don't run through the streets naked screaming. So the division is, it's sad that it's because of a Scooble injury, but the division's really fun, I think.
Yeah, because looking at Fangraph's projections for projected record for all of Major League Baseball, and it kind of gives off the impression, podcast listeners, that the league itself is pretty mid. Only 4 teams in Major League Baseball right now are projected to win 90 or more games. So there's a lot of teams in the middle. And as we're recording this on May 7th, Fangraphs is projecting the Tigers to still win the division, but only with an 82-80 record. So your guys' projected standing sees the White Sox remain about 10 games in between, like 10 games away from Detroit for the rest of the season, which again, I think White Sox fans would take because Detroit was the heavy favorite coming into the season. But back to Detroit, with Tarek Skubal missing 2-3 months, maybe even longer, depending on how he recovers. How does ZiPS forecasting this division if Skubal, for example, doesn't play for the Tigers at all for the rest of the season?
Well, that I don't have the full simulation open, and that'd take a little longer. We'd have to kind of filibuster for like an hour and a half to get that. But they probably ZiPS projects a very tight race. ZiPS has the Tigers at 82-80, but the average team that actually win the AL Central right now, the average final record of an AL Central that gets you first place in the AL Central in the projections is 84-78. And that is a really low number. That means 50% of the time, if you win 84 games, you've won the AL Central by the end of the season. So that, because, when you look at median standings, there's a tighter spread. But even with the full range of simulations, 84 wins may very well be what gets you a division title in the AL Central. And, I mean, are the White Sox, if you played the season a million times, truly like an 84 and 78 team? I don't think so. But the question is, if in this one reality, if they could happen to win 84 games, because teams do crazy things all the time. People tend to think that the range of outcomes for anything, a great team, a star, or a lousy player, people really think the ranges of expectation are much tighter than they are in reality. So there is a window for the White Sox to actually win the division, a small one, and they're probably the least likely of the 5 teams. But I think this is a lot more optimistic than we've been talking about in recent years. When we were talking about, hey, Dan, what are the odds that they break the record for losses in a season?
Yeah, well, hi. During our conversations over the years, I want to get a little crazy Tom Banana pants, Dan, because now knowing that ZiPS is projecting more than 50% of the time it's going to take 84 wins to win the division. Not a very high win total. The White Sox have their longest homestand coming up. Maybe on Memorial Day, the White Sox are still contending, in quotes, in the American League Central, their wild card. They're still within striking distance. What do you need to see from the White Sox between now and, let's say, the All-Star break to gain more confidence to be like, yeah, the White Sox are now a serious dark horse in making the postseason in the American League?
I think that if they're still hovering near 500 in mid-June or so, in another month, I think then you get to take them pretty seriously, because there are plenty of games against pretty good teams in the next month and divisional rivals. They have, I think, 2 series against the Mariners, who are better than they've played. They have series against the Royals and 2 against the Twins and the Tigers, and then they do a tour of kind of the Braves and the Dodgers and the Yankees, I think, all in a row. And if they can survive that gauntlet and they're still around 500, that's a team that's not a dangerous team, but it's a team that is playoff relevant and should actually consider making acquisitions at the trade deadline. However, any acquisition they make this year in this chaotic run for the playoffs should not be a pure rental. If you trade any player who could be useful in the future, and you tend to have to make an addition at the trade deadline, it should be for a player who's going to be around for more than 2 months. No pure rentals. If you get someone that is going to be around in 2027, maybe 2028, then it's something that really should be considered, maybe even if they aren't contenders. But the fact is, they're good enough now that we actually can have these conversations, because there's a lot of the foundational part of a team. They're like 5 of the guys in the lineup. I'd say, hey, if this team wins 90 games in 2 years, I think they could be part of that lineup. And that's just, this is the most positive. Yeah, as I said, this is the most positive conversation we've had in a long while about this.
Yeah, at least 5 years. It's been
Yeah,
at least 5 years.
I mean, I don't even feel the need to berate you about Taco Bell.
Yeah. I still eat it. One of the guys that's fueling enthusiasm for this season for White Sox fans, and I think has garnered attention not only in a national level, but clearly in the international level over in Japan, is Munetaka Murakami. With how he started this season, Dan, is Murakami beating ZiPS projections? Is he exceeding them?
Oh, he's exceeding them pretty comfortably. His OPS plus is at 160. ZiPS was positive about him. It had him at a 122, I believe, coming into the season. I'd have to actually double check that. ZiPS was, I think, the most positive about Murakami, but it's clearly under where he is. I still think that's probably a reasonable expectation of where he'll be, because his contact rate is really low. And I think that people tended to get too obsessed with that, because the thing is, contact rate is a means to an end. You need the idea is to get pitches that you can crush and actually connect with those pitches. The fact is, Murakami is finding plenty of pitches to crush. He has 14 home runs, 1 double, which is one of the weirdest splits that I can ever recall. But 14 home runs, he's slugging 565. He's getting enough pitches and connecting with enough of them that he can hit them a long way. So I don't think that you need to fret too much about having a very low contact rate, but you kind of want to see it be kind of closer to 70 than 60. That becomes a danger territory where he might get in a situation where pitchers are going to be able to approach him differently, and then he really has to rely on his plate discipline to keep up with that. There's more room for error when you're, at least connecting 70% of the time. But I think people tended to underrate him coming into the season. They got a little too upset about that bottom line contact number. For the same way people get too excited about a high contact number. High contact doesn't matter unless you're getting results out of that. Same thing with plate discipline. If you're very, very disciplined at the plate, if you're not putting balls in play like Ben Grieve or Jeremy Hermida, it's a means to an end. You're not actually using that skill to make good baseball things happen. So I'm positive at Murakami. I don't think he's going to stay where he is, but I think he's silencing a lot of the naysayers right now.
When it comes to Murakami in Chicago, the conversation, especially with the sports talk radio shows, Dan, quickly turns to the White Sox need to sign a new contract with Murakami. They need to figure out on how to keep Murakami with the White Sox long term. Does that make sense to you? Again, there's a lot of factors here. It's Jerry Reinsdorf. The White Sox have never signed a free agent to more than $100 million contract. I'm sure if teams had a crystal ball and they knew how he was going to start this season, that the White Sox 2-year, $34 million offer would have been laughed at by Murakami and his posting team and other teams in Major League Baseball. But the reality is he's with the White Sox, and he's with the White Sox through the 2027 season as well before he become a free agent again. So what are your thoughts on that particular topic? Because that seems to be where the conversation pivots when anybody talks about Murakami in Chicago. How do you keep him in a White Sox uniform past the 2027 season?
I think you at least have to open the discussions. What's needed is, of course, hard to say because I don't know what he's looking for. If he's looking for $200 million or something, then I think that you say, I'm not really that confident because there are holes in his game. He's never going to have a lot of defensive value. It's a little quick for that. But you do want to extend him past, I think, next season if you can. But again, it's going to come down to money, and maybe another year at a significantly higher 1-year salary, like offer him like one additional year at 32 or something to see if he bites at that. That would probably be my best approach. We, put him and say, hey, next season's going to be weird. We all know there's probably going to be a lockout. Who knows what the season's going to look like? Preparation's going to get weird for the season. If you sign for 2028, you'll be hitting free agency after your age 28 season, not your age 33 season. You can still get a big payday after hopefully a normal year in 2028, because if there's no baseball in 2027, we're still talking work stoppage in 2028. I think there'll be no baseball writers left that are employed to discuss it at that point.
Yeah, that would be true. That would be true. A lot of factors. Maybe the biggest is that Freddie Freeman's contract also expires, podcast listeners, after the 2027 season. So the Los Angeles Dodgers could be in the market for a left-handed power-hitting first baseman. Just saying, the White Sox could have very serious competition for Murakami past the 2027 season. But let's see how he hits for the White Sox in the next couple of months. But at this moment, I'm expecting him to make the All-Star team. Another player that right now looks like he's going to be making the All-Star team is Davis Martin, Dan. Now, Fangraphs just had a feature about how Davis Martin is starting this season. Highly recommend checking that out, podcast listeners. But as we record this, Dan, Martin ranks 3rd in Major League Baseball in pitcher WAR. And James Vegan and I, in our previous episode, we're running out of words about how happy and excited this development has been for Davis Martin, which appears to be a breakout season for him. What are your thoughts about how Davis Martin has started in 2026?
Well, you look at him, and of course it's hard to say for sure because it's when a player is pitching well and getting results, it kind of clouds how you view him. So you don't necessarily know if you're viewing him because you legitimately think that he's improved or if because the stats say he's improved. But you look at him, he's getting a lot more swing strikes this year. So his strikeout rate has gone up into much healthier ranges. I mean, he's at about a strikeout an inning. Last year it was like 6 point something, which is not a healthy number to be at in today's game. So that's a pretty big deal. His control and his command to me look much improved. But again, I also know he's walking fewer batters. So I don't really know if I'm seeing it or if I just think I'm seeing it. But that's a good thing because you don't look at someone like Martin and say he has crazy explosive stuff. He's not going to throw 98 miles per hour. He has he's kind of Yu Darvish-y in that he throws a lot of pitches that he can use at different times and he can use them for a lot of things, which makes me think that command probably has more leverage with making him good than, say, just a fastball slider guy. So I'm positive about Martin, and I'm surprised too. I think it's a good development for the White Sox, especially because they've had a couple other negative surprises elsewhere in the rotation. I think mostly when you talk about the problems that Shane Smith had this year with injury and struggling, and that's a whole other thing. I guess I don't want to talk for 15 minutes straight in one breath.
So to help you out on that front, Noah Schultz, the rookie, joining to help alleviate some of that pressure of losing Shane Smith for the foreseeable future as he deals with his rotator cuff strain and poor performance. What are your thoughts about Schultz early on in his last 2 starts? It is more walks and strikeouts.
Yeah, if you look at his numbers, it's almost like he's running out of pitches. He kind of has a surprising distribution in his plate discipline stats. I was looking at him earlier this week for some reason that I can't remember now. But he's actually getting off to a lot of first strikes. And first strike percentage has a predictive effect on a player's walk rate. If you have 2 players with a similar walk rate, one has a high first strike percentage and one has a low first strike percentage, the first strike percentage guy has a notable difference and decline in their walk rate in the future. And I think Schultz has been doing that. But it also seems like when I've watched him, because he is one of the guys interesting to watch, that he is getting off to good starts in at bats, but he has plenty of pitches. But it sometimes feels like when the count goes 5, 6, 7 pitches, that there's no additional plan at that point. That there's no, I don't know how to describe it exactly because I'm not a pitching mechanics guy, but it feels like there's a lot of guesswork at that point, and I don't know if there's anything to it or if you've felt anything even roughly similar, but that's just the impression I've gotten watching Schultz, and it's not a large sample size.
Yeah, we kind of chalked it up to he's a rookie learning life in the major leagues. We saw this a little bit back in 2021 with Dylan Cease, where he has all this amazing stuff, but he was not striking out batters, and we were wondering, what's the game plan here when he gets to 2 strikes? Does he have a go-to pitch to strike out batters? And maybe that's something, Dan, that Noah Schultz is also trying to figure out. Because if he does have a high first strike rate, that's a good sign. But I'm with you. In his last couple of starts, he gets to strike 2, and I don't know what he wants to throw to strike out hitters. Whereas like Davis Martin, we've noticed the last few starts, especially against the Angels where he struck out 10, I'm going to the slider, and that has been very effective against right-handed batters. I don't know what is Noah Schultz's strikeout pitch at this moment.
When I looked at Schultz, I just looked it up while I was looking at. After 0-2 and 1-2 this season, he has 3 walks after 0-2 counts and 6 walks after 1-2 counts. Obviously, some of those are the same at bat, but that's a lot in 5 starts. You should not be walking many guys after a 1-2 count.
Maybe something to pay attention to, podcast listeners, and future starts for Noah Schultz. See if pitching coach Zach Bove and they can come up with a better game plan when Schultz is getting ahead. The good news is he's getting ahead. The next step in his maturation and development in the major leagues is getting those strikeouts. So hopefully he does figure that out sooner than later for the White Sox. So with all this conversation and hype and excitement about how the White Sox are starting, Dan, does it make any sense, as we talked about what the projected standings look like, where the season has played out so far, to be more aggressive with promotions of their prospects, especially like outfielder Brady Montgomery, who just arrived at AAA? I know that Hagen Smith has been on and off, struggling a little bit in AAA as well. Would you advise the White Sox to be a little bit more aggressive in a month? They're still hovering around 500 as you laid out earlier.
I think what it comes down to is how well the player is playing and who he's replacing. I don't think you should really be promoting anyone unless you are really committed to playing them full time. That's usually a plus with a prospect. And I think you do have to promote players when they're not being sufficiently challenged in the minors. If a guy is in AAA and slugging 700 and you haven't called him up, something's seriously wrong because that guy's not being challenged. He's not learning what to do when pitchers figure him out, and because baseball's a game of adjustment and readjustment. So I think those are kind of the parameters, I think, for those kinds of promotions. Luckily, we are past the window. We're past that April window of service time shenanigans. So we at least don't have to worry too much about that part, because no one really worries as much about Super 2 manipulation, even though that is a thing. And I would especially be interested in calling up players if you can kind of ease out Benintendi or just add another outfield back. I think that's one of the places they can do something.
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing that both Everson Barrera and Austin Hayes, who was the veteran free agent the White Sox are hoping could provide a boost to the lineup, are currently both on the injured list. We are seeing an outfield. Sam Antonacci had not played in the outfield in the minor leagues, Dan, and right now he's playing mostly left field. Benintendi has been mostly DH. Tristan Peters, Dan, is the White Sox center fielder. And bless Tristan Peters' heart, he's playing well, or playing as well as he possibly can. But I don't think any of us would have been happy before the season started if we knew that Tristan Peters would be the mainstay in center field for the White Sox. So that's why I bring up Brady Montgomery. The other unknown, and the White Sox have not been at full power, many teams have not been in Major League Baseball, is Kyle Teel. We're still waiting word, Dan. Like, we hear that he goes through drills, but the White Sox have not had a rehab start for him because when he's running sprints and trying to go 100%, he's not 100%. And they do not want him to come back until he's 100% recovered from his hamstring pull. If Teel can rejoin the White Sox, I guess, before June 1st, how big of a boost is that to their chances of still contending in the American League Central?
I think it could be a boost, but he's also been out, and so it's hard to come back necessarily with that quickly. I think that it probably would not hurt him to have some non-injury time in the minors this year. And I think there are other places that are a bigger deal. Like, I think the White Sox should be aggressive with Brady Montgomery because of the catching problem. The outfield problem, not the catching a problem. I'd actually be interested, while you're getting Teel healthy and while you're getting Teel comfortable, I kind of want to see more Drew Romo, because he's had a really weird up and down career. He was in the Rockies system, and I kind of am forgiving of prospects who struggle with the Rockies because the Rockies have a really weird record at player development.
Don't say.
But I think they're improving there. But the Rockies up until like 2023 were a pretty brutal organization. They have really made strides to kind of turn that around. I was quite familiar with their old analytics staff, which was small, and their new one, which is growing. They have more people. There's still a lot of family involvement from ownership, we'll just say, but they're less hopeless than they were. But this isn't a Rockies podcast. That would be weird. But Romo was really good in Charlotte. He's had his moments as a prospect with the Rockies, and he's a 24-year-old catcher. I think he's still 24, who first round pick, not first pound Rick, back around the COVID time. And I kind of want to see him in the short term at catcher.
Yeah, because Edgar Caro has been struggling, and it's unfortunate. We were pretty optimistic about Caro to start the season. Great opportunity for him to make a claim on the starting job. That has not been the case. So I am with you. Let's see what Drew Romo can do. He has already hit 3 homers for the White Sox. The White Sox could definitely use more offense from the catching position. Before I let you go, we got this question from one of our VC members at Sox Machine, and this is something that's been catching our attention in more research at the beginning part of the season. Is this surge in home runs across minor league baseball, Dan? And especially when we look at someone like Caleb Bonnemer, who just took Garrett Cole out during Cole's rehab start. And Bonnemer has already hit as many home runs, 12, as he did all of last year in high A. And Zach was wondering, with this surge in home runs for minor league baseball, how this impacts ZiPS and the projections. And his question was, how does the significant deviation in one stat league-wide across the minor leagues affect projections for a player in the minors? So if it's like 2019 again, super bouncy ball in the minor leagues, does that impact how ZiPS projects the top prospects?
Well, ZiPS does have a built-in minor league translation thing, and it does use the league levels of play for each component. So generally, unless something has gone wrong, and sometimes there's very weird things, like some of the stolen base change rules or something that can stymie projections. But I think something like this, where home runs are up, it will adjust, and it will give a pretty big penalty to home runs if home runs are super crazy. The thing about the minors is, I mean, they've been crazy offensively on and off for a lot of the last, decade or so. It's kind of been the opposite change from MLB, which has gone kind of in a less offensive environment. But I mean, you look at last season, and there were a bunch of teams in the Pacific Coast League that almost hit 200 home runs, and this is a league that's playing a 150 game season. There are a lot of home runs out there, and I don't know the pace. I think that I don't have the exact home runs for the leagues offhand, and I can't do that super quickly. But there's the high offense in the high minors is nothing new.
Got it. Well, Zach, thank you so much for your question. And follow Dan on Twitter. He's at Dan Szymborski. He's also over on Blue Sky. If you have moved over to Blue Sky, you can read his excellent work on Fangraphs.com, where he hosts weekly chats. And Dan, thank you so much for indulging in our fever dream of the White Sox shocking the league and maybe contending in the American League Central.
Thanks for having me, Josh. It's always fun. Even when it's not fun because of the team, it's still fun.
That will do it for this episode of the Sox Machine Podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you just discovered the Sox Machine Podcast, you can subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts, such as Spotify and Apple Music. Check out our videos. With this upcoming homestand, James Fegan will be reporting for us from the press box and down in the White Sox clubhouse. So we'll have more videos coming your way. So if you do watch our videos on our YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button at youtube.com/SoxMachine. Follow us on social media. We're on all the platforms at Sox Machine. You can follow James for the upcoming news of this series between the White Sox and the Seattle Mariners at JR Fegan. You can follow me at SoxMachine_Josh. If you enjoy our work and want all access to our coverage of the Chicago White Sox, Major League Baseball, and the upcoming Major League Baseball draft, sign up to become a Sox Machine supporter at SoxMachine.com/products. Monthly plans start at $5. That gets you the ad-free version of both the podcast and website. Also unlocks the comment section for you as well underneath our posts. We also have additional tiers of support, including our Veterans Committee, in which our VC members get a peek behind the curtain and the things that we're working on at Sox Machine, and we seek their advice on how we can improve our coverage on the website. And they also get a chance to be part of the group chat and text directly to both James and Jim when they have questions of what's going on with the White Sox. So if you're interested in signing up, again, go to SoxMachine.com/products. The Sox Machine Podcast is a production of SoxMachine.com. You're for all things Chicago White Sox baseball and part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Josh Nelson. Thanks for listening and watching.